Oh, yeah. Friday night, summer edition. There is not much going on whatsoever. Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And as some of you caught the other day on an unpublished live, it was just kind of the first live in the new studio. As you can see, the new studio is currently under construction. No backdrop yet. Trying to figure out the motif. I still got to get the lighting better, maybe some sound issues. So the studio is a work in progress. You might see me here on a blank canvas for another week or two, potentially, depending. But I have a bunch of ideas kind of going on in this brain of what exactly I want the new studio to look and feel like. It is a work in progress. It's certainly not going to look like this forever. But anyway, not a lot going on. Still no Luke Hughes contract. I think I'm actually going to announce a contest around the Luke Hughes signing. I'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. I think I'm gonna have a contest for Luke Hughes contract guesses, both term, money. I gotta iron out the details of that, but I will have a contest pertaining to Luke Hughes for sure, and that should be an interesting one. A lot of people are all over the board with their guesses. Now a lot of people are leaning more towards the shorter term deal. Hopefully that's not the case. Obviously, we would all like to see Luke Hughes signed long term at a fair number to be part of this New Jersey Devils club for years going forward. But you never know what these guys are thinking. Nothing would surprise me. And so I will announce a contest on that shortly. But something coming out of Russia that I thought was very interesting. And the headline from, let me see where this was. This was a Russian outlet. I can't even read it. But it's all surrounding Arseny Gritsuk, a guy that a lot of people have been excited about for a couple of years, has played pretty well in the KHL. And I fully expected him to be in the bottom six at a minimum to start the season. I've said that for a while now. I think he's pretty much cemented in a bottom six role with the potential to play in the top six at some point and get a look there. And who knows, if he has a good camp and maybe a preseason, maybe he could even start in the top six. But I would imagine he'll probably start in the bottom six. But apparently it was revealed in this interview with a Russian outlet, and I'll put the link in the description in a bit. Let me find it here because I translated it. It's a little choppy. Whenever you're translating these things from overseas, it's certainly a little choppy. But the question was, do you have a point in the contract that if you are not on the first team by November 15th, then you will return to the KHL? And he said, can we talk about it? Yes, there is such a point. If it doesn't work, I could come back. And I read that and I was like, oh boy. I've told you guys before, and listen, I'll be perfectly forthright about it. It possibly, for me personally, this PTSD that I have with KHL guys very well probably stems from Ilya Kovalchuk leaving not too far removed from like his prime. I mean, he was a little past his prime, but still a dynamic player, leaving the Devils and that whole debacle and going to the KHL. And I think as a result, I probably have some PTSD rather towards some of these KHL guys. But I always feel like they're always trying to pull a fast one in some way, whether it's for money or whatever else. We've seen guys stay over there. Russian guys have left NHL teams to go there. And so whenever we're talking about a KHL guy, I do get a little uneasy, I would say. And I thought this was super interesting. And so apparently he reveals in this conversation with a Russian journalist that there is a point, in his contract that if he's not on the first team, meaning the Devils, the NHL club, by November 15th, he has an out clause, essentially return to the KHL. And then the, I guess, person conducting this interview with him said, are you ready to endure? To which Gritsuk said, I know what you're saying about AHL. I'm willing to endure for a while, but 2 or 3 months, no more. So essentially, the table is set with this clause in Gritsuk's contract that if he is not on the New Jersey Devils and they try to send him to the AHL, that he'll basically only stick it out for a little bit. stick it out for a little bit, and then he would go to the KHL. But because of the lack of forward depth, I just can't see any way he's not in the bottom 6 to even start the season. I do think it's a moot point, but it is interesting that he felt the need to have that clause put in his contract so that, if the Devils try to stick him in Utica for any sort of period of time, that he could go back to the KHL and play professionally in Russia. So I thought that was a little interesting, a little disturbing in my opinion. And I do feel like, maybe it's a little bit of gamesmanship to where it kind of forces the Devils' hand. Like if they were on the fence about him and were thinking about kind of parking him in the AHL, that, he's not going to go. So, or he won't go for a while. Very interesting stuff. I thought that was interesting. Gritsuk with the out clause. And so hopefully this, again, it means nothing in that he contributes in the NHL. He's a great player. I would love to see him, exceed all expectations, play in the top 6 and produce there. That would be amazing because obviously we desperately need some top 6 help. But if he ends up being a productive bottom 6 player, I think most of us would be ecstatic with that as well, especially in his rookie season. But time will tell where Gritsuk lands in the lineup, but I fully expect him to be on the roster for opening day, and anything short of that would be another disappointment for this Devils team, because this kid has been one of our more, highly ranked, more talked about prospects for a couple of years now. I'm going to see what you guys are talking about in the comments. Yo, Holmes, Ace coming in live from Cell Block C. Ace coming to you from the void. Broadcasting from, what's up, Chico, Stanley, Yo, Holmes. Looks like someone couldn't post bail. Yeah, I don't think they would, Jack, I don't think they would let you do a live stream from prison. I'm not positive, but I'm certainly not in prison. I am a free man. What's going on, Bobby? What's up, AC unit? Empty room is driving me nuts. Bobby, it's not driving you nuts as much as it's driving me nuts. But I am kind of torn about what I want the set to look like. I have a bunch of ideas, and then once you start hammering stuff into the walls and everything, it is a bit not permanent, but I don't want to do something and then not like it and redo it. So I'm really kind of taking my time and planning this out. But I do think in the end, it likely, it's all going to be, Devil stuff, obviously. So it will be, no matter what, somewhat reminiscent of the previous studio that you guys were familiar with. But it is a work in progress, and we will see how it turns out. We will see how it turns out. Yo, it's really cool that you broadcast from the hole at Shawshank. The missus really fleeced him in the divorce, huh? Oh, boy. She even took the pads. No, there's no, the pads will be in here. Bobby, Grits ain't going nowhere, I'm confident. I think he's going to be a good player. I do think he's going to be a good player. And like I said, bottom 6 at worst, best case scenario, he's a productive player in the top 6. I don't believe that we are going to get one before the season opens. I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, were expecting Fitzgerald to land this flashy type player this offseason. And I've talked about it a million times. I never thought that was realistic for a variety of reasons. The biggest one being cap space. Now, obviously, everyone's talking about there is different avenues for Fitz to free up cap space and bring in this top 6 guy in a trade, but it seems like there are probably no takers on Palat. The Dougie thing, we don't really know how much truth there was to those rumors, but I always like to say where there's smoke, there's fire, and there was multiple sort of credible reports that the Devils were at least discussing him with a couple teams. And again, I told you guys know very well that I am Team Dougie. I'm not opposed to moving on from him maybe next year, but I do think it is a little premature now. And I understand all the reasons why people talk about it, the money he makes and all the young kids. But I do think the defense as a whole would suffer, if they moved Dougie this summer and went into next season. To start the year without him, I think would be a little bit of a learning curve. And I don't know that we can afford that sort of situation. So I am happy that it looks like, but again, there's still time. You never know. There's plenty of time for Dougie and or Palat or, some pieces to move around. We haven't seen too much league wide, but I do not think moving on from Dougie at this point would be the wisest thing until, we see more from Nemitz and see him kind of take that next step. And it was very nice to see him have the playoff that he did. Up and down year for Nemitz. It was in the minors. He was up. He was in the press box. But he had quite a playoff. And I do think he is going to be a very good defenseman. But I think we need to wait a little bit more before we just assume that Luke and Nemitz will be able to handle the load once Dougie's gone. But he will not live out his contract as a Devil, obviously. Sullivan said Ozempic. I don't really know what that's. If you're talking about me, I 1,000,000% did not take Ozempic. If that's what that is referring to, but I will show you something just so you know. Not that there's anything wrong with taking Ozempic, but I will tell you, your boy did it the old-fashioned way. He did not take Ozempic. Let me pull this up here, but I will show you on my phone. I don't know if this is going to show up too good, but there it is. This was the month of May. 16,256 daily steps, my friend. So no Ozempic there. That was May. And then we followed it up with a June. That was a 16 whatever. And then we followed up with the June. Come at me, bro. Ozempic my ass. 17,000 steps. It's amazing what the human body can do with proper diet and exercise, but make your Ozempic jokes all you want. I got your Ozempic right here. No Ozempic. Tom, dude's on the roster. No way he doesn't get in. I guess that's in reference to the Gritsuk conversation. I mean, yeah, right. The competition, there is going to be competition for the bottom six. And I'm going to make a bunch of videos about that amidst other things as we get closer to camp and stuff. I do think there is a ton of guys looking for bottom six roles, but the reality is it's kind of up in the air, I would say, for a couple spots at least. And if Gritsuk can't beat out the guys that we're talking about here, then that would be very problematic. We saw it last year, even in the playoffs. Some of the guys in the bottom six were like, what are we doing here? And I fully expect Gritsuk to start the season in the bottom six for sure. Bobby, the translation is off. I am fluent in Russian. It's 2 to 3 years, not months. Are you sure, Bobby? Because if that's the case, that's 2 to 3 years. But what about the portion of the article that said November 15th? I mean, they're not talking about November 15th in 2 or 3 years from now. I'm very curious, Bobby. Now you've really piqued my interest. Traveling, what's up, my man? With the current political situation, I wouldn't thought the Russians would want to stay there. I mean, politics and all the bull BS aside, wouldn't you want to play, if you're a professional athlete, in the best league in the world? I would imagine most of these guys do. Whatever sport you're in. If you're a basketball player, you want to play in the NBA. If you are a baseball player, you want to play in the MLB. If you are a football player, you want to play in the NFL. And if you are a hockey player, the NHL is the pinnacle of it all. And the Stanley Cup is the ultimate prize. I would imagine that these guys want to play in the NHL. But I guess if you're put in a situation where there's no guarantees or whatever, it never is a bad scenario to go play in the KHL in your home country and get paid. And there's probably all sorts of tax benefits and crap we don't even know about that goes on with that as well. So I guess for Russian guys, obviously the KHL is a very nice kind of backup gig. But in the end, the NHL is the top of the food chain. Chico with Grits, though, going back to the KHL doesn't rule out an NHL return anyway. He's barely got over 200 KHL games played. I would argue if it's between that and the A, the KHL is better for him at the moment. Yeah, but now, is there going to be a precedent set where it's like if you're one of these Russian guys, you don't make the NHL club, you pout and you take your ball and go home and you go play in the KHL instead of reporting to the AHL club? I just think that's a little, I don't know, it's a slippery slope. I'm not a fan of it personally. And it'd be interesting to see someone kind of try to do this sort of stuff in the Lou Lambs era. Would be super interesting. I don't think he would have, taken too kindly to that sort of thing. Matt says he should be on the top six over Palat. I mean, Matt, I will say, hopefully he can contribute more than Palat and maybe get a top six role. But the reality is this kid hasn't played a single game in the NHL. And so just to assume that he should start on the top six over Palat, I think is a little hasty. I mean, how do we know? There's plenty of cases of guys that looked pretty good in the KHL and they just couldn't get it done in the NHL. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Gritsuk, but it is a legitimate concern, I think, for myself and a lot of other people. This is a big step. You're going from a pro league, yes, in Russia, but now you're going to the league. This is the big time. The NHL, my friends, the National is the premier league. And there's been plenty of guys over time that just couldn't make that seamless transition. And they didn't look like the same player in the NHL as they did in the KHL. I hope Gritsuk's not one of them. Listen, I'm rooting for the kid. Anyone who wears our sweater, I hope they come in and dominate. Every single player. I hope he comes in and everyone's like, wow, this kid is amazing. I would love to see it. I would love to see him come in his rookie season and have 30 goals and 40 assists and 70 points in a top 6 role. Nothing would make me happier. But just to assume that that's going to happen, like my mother always used to say, when you assume, you make an ASS out of you and me. And I'm not going to make any assumptions, especially with guys jumping from another league to the NHL. But I hope he comes out and looks amazing. It would be a great story for the Devils and a much-needed boost because we need it. Quite frankly, we need it. We need all the help we could get up front. I love the goaltending and defense. Absolutely love it. The forward group, I can't say I have the same feeling. And that's kind of why I didn't mention this, actually. I forgot. On the cover photo for this live, I just put the core 4. And right now, it just feels like the fate of our season ultimately is going to lie entirely on the backs of the core 4. Ken, Jack, Nico, Bratter, and Timo stay healthy and produce. They got to stay healthy. They got to produce. But it feels like we're going to be relying once again on the core 4 to get most of the heavy lifting done. And hopefully they all have a great season. Would love to see a bigger season out of Timo. But you guys know I love Timo. I have no complaints about him. But would like to see him start scoring a little more regularly earlier than March, obviously. Once March hits, it's Timo time, and we all know what Timo does at that point. But would love to see that come out from opening puck drop. Let's see Timo get a little more production regularly from October on. He could have a big, I'm not going to say rebound season because I feel like that indicates that he had a bad season, but an improved season. Bratter's going to do his thing coming off his single season assist record that he broke Scott Stevens' 30-year-old record for single season assists. And hopefully Bratter starts burying some more as well. But you got to love Bratter. He's been our most consistent, best offensive player for the past few seasons. And I feel like he's going to continue to, march down that path. Hopefully Jack could stay healthy. We could possibly see a, 110-ish, 115-point season out of Jack and maybe put himself in the Hart Trophy conversation. All these things could happen. But like I've said time and time again, it starts with staying healthy. Hopefully they could do that. But I just feel like there's a lot of hopes. It's a lot of hoping. And I've said that before. When you're hoping for a lot of things to go your way, it's a little uneasy. Makes me feel a little uneasy to have this many hopes. But, if they hit, if all these hopes kind of happen, you never know. With the defense and goaltending the Devils have, I do like us in that department. Jeter says, I have that same jersey with Marty's name and number on the back. Very nice. Yeah, this is a relic. Devils hockey, baby. This is my microphone's in the way. That's vintage. Like I said, you guys know I have a problem. I've been basically the same size since I was in my teens. Your boy was a monster back in the day. But as a result of being the similar size for, 20 some odd years now and being a compulsive Devils fan and merch hoe and apparel hoe, I've accumulated quite the New Jersey Devils wardrobe. And this is certainly one of the throwbacks, like I said, from, I think this was it was probably also in the 90s. You guys are brutal. Chico, nice of Ace to put Fitz's to-do list on the wall for him. Oof. You guys are... the Fitz to-do list. We got nothing. A blank wall. Bobby, the number one flashy player I was super high on was Peterka, but Palat's doom and gloom contract is hurting us as I know it would. Yeah, I would have liked Peterka. It would have been nice. But there's a ton of guys that could help us. But the reality is if we're not going to move anybody, there's no money to spend. And here we are. Like I said months ago, I expected some bottom 6 ads in the Luke extension. The bottom 6 ads have come. The Donov and Brown, the Luke extension seems like it's inevitable at some point. I mean, I can't see a world where he's not signed. I mean, that'd be psychotic. It might not be the long-term deal we're all hoping for. I think that would be quite a misstep. But who knows if he's playing hardball or not. I really hope not. But I think, the Luke Hughes contract, both years and the cap hit are going to tell us a lot about where maybe the Hughes family's heads are at collectively in terms of the New Jersey Devils franchise. Chico, Dougie is this era's Severson. Got some warts in his game, but overall net positive and useful player that a part of the fan base would probably kill with their teeth if they have the chance. I kind of like the analogy. I agree with you, Chico. I also defended Severson a bunch of times. This is before I had this channel, amongst other Devils fan friends. Obviously, Severson was kind of a whipping boy on the blue line during that era. And I did tell people then, like I am saying about Dougie Hamilton now, that you folks will miss Damon Severson when he is gone. Regardless of all the complaints and the stuff that you guys, the smack that people were talking, I was like, we're going to feel it when he's gone. And in that 23-24 season, when both Severson and Ryan Graves left in free agency, we certainly felt that. And we had two children, two kiddies, two wet behind the ears children, Luke Hughes, Shimo Nemitz, and they both, in their first full seasons, or whatever you want to call it, majority of a full season, showed signs of brilliance, and they also showed signs of being very inexperienced NHL defensemen who are getting on-the-job training. And it was a painful season. You all know, 23-24, the defense as a whole was atrocious. The goaltending was atrocious, and the combination of the two is why, and the third element being Fitz with his hands in his pockets, playing pocket pool and not getting us a goalie, is why we missed the playoffs. And and it's crazy. We were scoring like crazy. We just couldn't keep the puck out of our net. And then we fast forward to last season, it was the opposite. Finally, the defense and goaltending is good, and we couldn't score on tons of nights, and the offense was just non-existent. The drought season. I think we were shut out, 8 or 9 times on the year, and a lot of games at 1 or 2 goals, and we just couldn't get it done offensively. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but I do think with the solid defense and the goaltending, I will take my chances any day, because we do, our core 4 is very good, regardless of what people think. Are they perfect? No. But will I go into battle with those guys any day? Absolutely. And I think you might see this year, maybe we win some more of these low scoring type games, maybe 3-2 games. 2-1 games are super rare in today's league. With the way the game's now, you don't see too many 2-1 games, but I think this team is capable of winning some of these 2-1, 3-2 tight kind of games, where it's not always going to be a 4 and 5 goal night. Sometimes you're going to have to win the close, low scoring affairs. And with Markey and net, with the defense, I like our chances. I really do. But I obviously underwhelming offseason and wanted more help offensively. But here we are. But I fully expect the Devils to be a playoff team, assuming we're not injury plagued again. I just don't see how they're not comfortably a playoff team. Now, maybe that is somewhat overly optimistic, but I don't think it is. I think this is a playoff group just off the strength of the defense and goaltending alone. I mean, it is going to be probably, we will have to be in the top, I would say, third of the league in terms of goals against. I would imagine with the defense and goaltending, we will be in the top third in that department. And anytime you could have that kind of as your starting point, you got to just score one more than the other team to get the win. And I think you're going to see the Devils kind of buckle down and win some of these close games. Blackatron, thank you for the super, my friend. We need that Arnott, Langenbrunner, Mogilny, Friesen type acquisition to improve this forward group. We need it now, but we have to be patient. Well, thank you for the super, Blackatron. I've talked about this, right? Sometimes the best deals that are going to improve your team and truly help you become a contender are the deals that are toughest to make. And as I've pointed out a million times for the younger fans, Blackatron here refers to Arnott, Langenbrunner, Mogilny, Friesen. These are all guys that were brought in that ultimately every one of these guys played a pretty big role in the Devils winning a Stanley Cup. Arnott was not right away. Arnott was here a little bit before that 2000 season, but ultimately Arnott, the big, strong bull of a center of the notorious A line with Patrick Elias and Peter Sikora, one of the best line in Devils history by most people's accounts, including mine. My favorite line in Devils history. The A line was dynamic. They were huge in the 2000 season. They were huge in that cup run. Jamie Langenbrunner, coincidentally, was a guy that Lou Lamoriello traded for in 2002. Picked him and Joe Nieuwendyk up from Dallas in a trade that sent Jason Arnott and Randy McKay both out of town. Both cup winners with the Devils. Randy, a 2-time cup winner. They were shipped out to Dallas to bring in Langenbrunner and Mogilny. And without Langenbrunner, we probably don't win that 03 Cup. He was tied for the team lead with 18 points during that playoff. Completely insane. Or maybe he was second. Hold on, now I got to double check that. Niedermeyer may have had more points. I got to check. I hate when I forget something like that. But Langenbrunner, completely monstrous playoff. It was just, I don't think we win that cup without him. No, he was tied with Needs. They both had 18 points. And Langenbrunner leading the team with 11 goals. 11 goals and 7 assists for 18 points. What a legend Jamie Langenbrunner is. If you haven't seen it, check out I did an interview with him a while back. I got to get him back on to finish it off. That was part one. We didn't get to everything. But without Langenbrunner, that cup doesn't happen. And likewise, without Jeff Friesen, another player you mentioned there, we probably don't win that cup either. And that was in a deal that sent out another A-liner, Peter Sikora. Peter Sikora leaves. And without Friesen, he had 10 goals. So he was second on the team in goals during that playoff. Friesen, fourth in points, 14 points, and he had 10 goals. He was second in goals only to Langenbrunner. And they were clutch. So overall, I'm ranting here. But yeah, sometimes you have to make difficult trades. All of those were certainly difficult. I think a lot of the fans, including myself, had some sort of kind of shocked, mixed emotion reaction to every one of those trades. And you can't move forward without making some of these deals that are difficult to make. And we keep talking about Bill Zito. Obviously, he made the deal with Huberdeau, a blockbuster to bring in Matthew Tkachuk. And you've seen the fortunes of the franchise immediately turned around upon getting Matthew Tkachuk. 3 finals appearances in a row. They lost the first cup final to the Golden Knights, and they went on to beat the Oilers twice in a row, back-to-back cup champs, just absolutely dominant. And so I do agree, Blackatron. Sometimes you have to make one of those difficult moves to bring in one of these pieces. These guys in Mogilny in 2000, I mean, wow. You got to make these tough deals to really push the team forward, and we'll see if maybe Fitz has one of them in him. Really, the only thing significant he's done during a season is really the Timo deal. But I think now with the core 4 in place, we need one more deal like that to really move the needle. Riot and Respect says, let's go. Thanks for the super. Yo, Ace, got here late. Thoughts on Kadri Buzz? I mean, someone brought this up the other day. I don't know how realistic this is. And again, I've talked about how I don't like to, react or make videos or do all this stuff about like every single little rumor or nonsense kind of speculation report. I like to wait till there's something credible. And so is there something credible on that? Or is this just kind of conjured up fanfare baloney on Kadri? Wait, and I forget again. I just looked this up the other day. I think he's at $7 million and he has like 4 more years. A little steep, I think. It was very steep in my opinion before the cap increases and where they expect the cap to keep going. And yeah, so he's got 4 more years at $7 million. He's 34. He's a center. I mean, listen, it's a win now move. It's a win now move. Would I like it if nothing better could be had? Then yes. But when we're talking about getting guys that make $7 million, right? I would take Kadri for $7 million. He has obviously sandpaper. You guys know me. You know the types. The types of players I like. And so Kadri would be a nice addition to this team. But when you're talking about a guy that makes $7 million, I have to keep, doing the same thing that I always do. And I'm like, well, that's not a terrible usage of $7 million, but is there a better usage of $7 million? And I'd have to think there probably could be. Now, obviously, there's so many other variables in a trade. You're talking about assets, picks, prospects, roster players going other places. But in a vacuum, you're talking about $7 million going to Kadri. I wouldn't be mad at it, and I would welcome the addition because I do think he would be a great 3C. I do think, he brings some more of that toughness to the forward group that I always talk about, heavier, edgier, more violent. While the team was improved in that department last season, I still think they have a ways to go and they need to get even heavier, even more edgier and more violent. And we did see flashes of it, before the calendar turned to 2025 and everything went to shit. But I just have to say, is there something better that you could put, not necessarily another $7 million player, but a player that $7 million would go towards? Is there a $9 million player, right? Or a $10 million player even, that you could use that $7 million towards and maybe get something that helps you even more than Kadri would. And so that's kind of where I get greedy or super analytical on it. I would take Kadri, but I just have to question, is there a better usage of the money? And is there something better out there? You guys know I want like that Tuck type. Go get me Tuck. Oh man, that single acquisition alone would change my entire kind of outlook and kind of vibe on the season. That would just be, it'd be so good. But yeah, we'll find. I got to see where this Kadri stuff is coming from. Traveling, my man, thank you. Here's $10 for a paint roller and a free mixing stick. You really want the walls red, huh, Traveling? Is that your vote? I mean, the walls are going to probably mostly be covered, I would imagine, with stuff. So even if I painted them red, you wouldn't see a ton of it. I don't know. I don't know if paint is going to be a part of it. There's certainly going to be, some of the stuff you saw in the old studio, but I'm going back and forth with a couple ideas. There's a lot of challenges when you're trying to do a studio build out, and we'll see where we end up. But I imagine it'll probably be very similar to the previous. And some of you with a very discerning eye may pick up on some of the differences, but there'll definitely be some, I think, that are more obvious than others. Chico says, I stand by my prediction. He'll probably get traded mid-season at the earliest. I think GMs want to see him play a bit more after the injuries these last couple of years. In reference to Dougie, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? He's coming off some injuries. The pec one was pretty serious. Whenever a team is trading for a guy making that kind of coin, $9 million a year, and is somewhat damaged or was damaged at one point, I think no one wants to have buyer's remorse. And so I do think that is a fair point, Chico, that GMs are like, well, listen, I'm interested in the guy. Let's see what he has when he comes back. And if he looks like himself, maybe we could deal. And, if you're the Devils, maybe, on the flip side there, they want to see what the kids, specifically, I think Nemitz more than anybody, what he looks like as an everyday player before they are comfortable with moving on from Dougie. M says, Dougie should be gone by the start of the season. Slive is supposed to come to the team end of season or start of next season. Yeah, another KHL guy I am very kind of up in the air on whether or not we will see him. I just can't see him playing this season as a 19-year-old defenseman. That's super young, guys. It does take defensemen longer to develop than forwards. And like you even see Luke Hughes, right? And is Luke 21 or 22 now? Let me see. The kids are all growing up. They grow up so fast. Yeah, Luke's 21. He's turning 22 next month. And you even see, his development, right? I think he took huge strides last season. Looked much better in the D zone. I think he benefited from obviously playing with a crafty veteran like Pesci for a lot of the season. But defensemen take time, and Saliev's only 19. But I'm excited for when he eventually gets here. But I'm more focused on the now, guys. Win now. Saliev is, in my opinion, kind of that next wave, probably with, the slightly older Gritsuks and the Hami Nahos and all these other guys. The Yegorov era, maybe we could call it, or the pending Yegorov era. But in the end, that ain't helping us win now. The future is bright. The future's been bright. I don't have my shades handy to put on, but, the future has been bright for a while, but the right now has to be bright. And Saliev, for me, is not part of that, win now movement. I'm just scanning the comments. I went on tangents. And I've fell far behind. I'm going to try to skim here. Maria, what's going on? Where are you walking/stepping, Ace, in this heat? For the months I showed before on my phone. It was a combination of outside and on a treadmill. Little combo. Little indoor-outdoor, if you will. probably close to half and half, I would say. But it wasn't the beginning of the summer. May and June weren't super brutal. There was a couple days I was out there dying, but for the most part, I feel like it was never really brutally hot in New Jersey this summer until the past couple weeks. There were some days that were treacherous, but the beginning part of the summer not too bad, especially if you do it in the morning, which a lot of times I did, and then also obviously a gym with air conditioning. Bobby says, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, Gritsuk will have 25 goals, 41 assists this year. Oh, Bobby. 25 and 41 for 66 out of Gritsuk would be phenomenal. Unfortunately, if I was a betting man, I would have to take the under on that. And I would love to be wrong. But just because that is just 66 points is an astronomical expectation out of a young kid coming from the KHL. That would be insane. Yeah, Jason, 25 goals would be amazing for him. Chico, I need 60 points out of Timo, at least that. And I talked about this the other day. He had 53 points last year, and he was on the left side. He's better on the right. I don't care what anyone says or who puts out dissertation papers that it's a fallacy. I'm sorry, but no, absolutely not. If you ever played and you're a lefty, I think everyone would understand the difference between, left and right wing as a left shot, or on the flip side, if you're a righty, right-handed shot, you understand kind of the dynamic. And his whole career was made in San Jose on the right side on power play one. Devils finally did it. You saw a new Timo, and I do believe that if he starts the season on the right side, which I'm praying he does, and on power play one, I do think, and he stays healthy, obviously, I do think we see 60 points out of Timo. A 30-30 season, for me, that's kind of the bar or the metric that I was looking for out of him last season. But, 53 points, again, being misutilized to some extent, is pretty damn close to 60 points. Like, are we going to kill the guy over 7 points? Especially considering all the other things he does besides straight point production. But I would love to see 60 points out of him as well. Yeah, they put him on the left side. We'll see. Hopefully it ends. James says, I think Glass and Cotter will have career years. I said that about Cotter last year, and he started off like super hot, and I was looking like a prophet, and then he kind of took a nosedive. But I love Paulie Cotter. I mean, he has to have a career year at some point soon. I mean, his career year was in 23-24 at the Knights. He had 25 points. 7 and 18 for 25 points. And last year he had 16 goals, which is a career high. 6 assists for 22 points, 3 points shy of his career high. Would love to see him get 16 goals again and maybe up those assists, or even like a 2020 season would be great. Will be interesting to see. I think he's another guy that may get bounced around a little bit and get some opportunities on I don't know that he gets tried in the top 6 like regularly, but I do think you'll see him on at least the third line at some point. Who knows? Maybe he starts on the third line. I think there's a lot of question marks in the bottom 6 still with all the guys vying. Love Paulie Cotter. He is now Paulie Cotter setting the new single season hits record, and Bratter with the single season assist record. Lots of hoping and wishing, says Coffin Flops. I know it's such a damn shame. It really is. Jason, Cotter's got top 6 skill. The problem is his hockey IQ isn't great. I think that could get better. I love Cotter as a player, though. Yeah, I love Paulie, too. He's part of the heavier, edgier, more violent movement. Would love to see him take that next step as a New Jersey Devil. Snell, Fitz falling asleep at the wheel again. He'll be gone next year. I don't know. I think if we win a playoff round, the guy's bought more time than you would think. I really don't think his job's in jeopardy, despite what a lot of people say. Yo, Holmes, how do we feel about our old-ass goalie tandem? I like them, Yo, Holmes. I think we're kind of doing a disservice to the future of the Devils net, but as you all know, I am a win-now guy, and so I understand why Jake was brought back. I did talk about how I thought it was time to move on from him and kind of give Dawes his chance. But I also never anticipated Jake Allen, taking a deal like he did. Everyone was reporting he's going to get, $4 or $5 million, maybe 2 or 3 years. Tons of teams were looking to sign him. And then Fitz comes up with a creative solution and signs him for 5 years at 1.8. Being that it's going to be Jake Allen's last career payday. I didn't really think he would, take a deal like that. He's obviously not going to play out the whole contract, but it just goes to show that not everything is about money with some guys, and Allen likes the area. He likes the organization. He values his family life here with his kids and everything. And so he figured out a way to keep his family in New Jersey and stay a New Jersey Devil. So I'm not mad at the Allen thing. I am very curious to see how the Nico Dawes thing plays out. I just can't see the Devils carrying 3 goalies. A lot of people are speculating that. I mean, I think that'd just be, just cash Nico Dawes in for whatever you can because he's on a one-way deal. He's not going to clear waivers. And so losing him for nothing, I mean, I'll tell you this. I do imagine that if somehow we end up losing Dawes for nothing, people will, I guess the reality is, guys, most fans are not you guys. Most of you that are in this watching me here, you're hardcores. You're watching my live show on a Friday night in the summer. Most people aren't remotely thinking about hockey. And so, the majority of fans wouldn't even know or care if Nico Dawes gets lost for nothing. But I think a lot of you would be furious, as would I, because I feel like that would be a completely mismanaged situation if that goes on to happen. And I think he dealt. Again, unless Fitz is, they're going to carry 3 goalies, but I don't know. Chico says, to be a little fair to Fitz, I've heard that basically no one wants to make any trades right now. Even back to the trade deadline, we're just in a weird era for moves right now. Yeah, but you could always force someone's hand. If you call somebody up and offer a package they can't refuse, I think you would see a trade facilitated. And it is kind of strange, the lack of moves, but, who knows? Who knows? Maybe once one happens, you'll kind of see a domino effect where teams start making moves. But it has been a pretty quiet summer overall, for sure. What's going on, Pyro? Like your jersey. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Vintage. Chico, I think once we're in November, we'll finally sink into teams that they're not going to be competitive this year. And we'll see other teams that are living on hopes and dreams. And then once the puck drops, they're going to be like, our reality is that we suck. So time to make moves. Hold on one second. So that is an interesting theory. Once teams come to the realistic moment of we're not going to do anything this year, start trading guys, but I don't know because for the Devils, at least, Fitz has basically only worked in the offseason. That deadline last year, I could rant about it from now till the end of time. What a disappointing deadline. Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong. Unbelievable. Columbus wants to get rid of Severson. That's interesting. Chico, I think older Devils fans got spoiled by needs who could do everything, so they expect puck movers to also be elite at shutting down, which is just not how it works for the majority of D-men. No, they're pretty much a specialist in one or the other. You're either an offensive D-man who's going to make some of these bonehead defensive moves, or you're a shutdown D-man who's going to bring no offense, but you're going to keep the puck out of the net. It is pretty rare to see guys that excel in both areas, unfortunately. And that's part of why I love the old game, Chico. Yeah, Needs in the Hall for a reason. He's one of the best of all time. One of the best skaters of all time. Just silky smooth. I mean, Niedermeyer, I feel like while a lot of people do give him his credit, I still feel like he's one of the most underrated NHL players of all time because I feel like he doesn't get the love he deserves outside of the old school Devils fans that had a front row, and I guess Ducks fans as well, that had a front row seat to the majority of his career and his greatness. It was crazy. Jason, 23-24 is brutal on the back end. Swiss cheese defense. There is no other way to put it. Swiss cheese. Metalander, what's up? I love how we ignore the elephant in the room. Maybe Fitz is taking his time listening to offers from Vancouver. Yeah, I've talked about that before as well. Like, if there is credibility to the Quinn Hughes stuff, I just think with the moves that Vancouver has made thus far, that they really are still kind of waiting to deal Quinn, and that they're only going to do it if he straight up tells them, like, there's no chance I'm staying here, which very well may have happened already. We don't know. That Rutherford press conference at the end of the season for Vancouver was very telling, where he straight up told the whole world, Quinn wants to go play with his brothers. But outside of Quinn straight up telling them, I'm not signing here no matter what, I think they're going to try to have a competitive team and change his mind and hope that he stays there. That's where I think that whole thing's at. But who knows? Maybe they are still going back and forth. And like I've said a million times before, for the right price, I certainly, there's a very big value in getting Quinn Hughes 2 years earlier, as opposed to waiting for him to come here in free agency if that's what he wants to do, which I do think will happen if he's not dealt to the Devils beforehand. I do fully believe on July 1st, 2027, which is now 23 short months away, 1 month shy of 2 years, when free agency opens that summer, I do believe he will sign on the line that is dotted and become a New Jersey Devil. And so, are the Canucks going to cash him in before then and send him here? It's possible, but I do think it would be still very expensive asset-wise for the Devils to do it. I'm not going to be heartbroken if they don't make that trade. I certainly won't be. While I would certainly love to have Quinn Hughes here, I would not want to sacrifice major pieces to make it happen. Chico, all of them at 100%. I take this Devils core against any team in the league on any given night. That's pretty bold, Chico. I mean, at 100%, they'd be a good team. I mean, I do believe they'd be a good team, but, and I don't think they're going to get embarrassed. I believe they could contend, but if you really believe they're on the level of the Panthers right now, I think that's a little hopeful. I think that's definitely a little hopeful. Pyro, I'd like the playoffs, but we need to get that heavier, edgier, more violent back. Our 25 form was gross, and if Boston Rangers rebound, well, then I'll maybe sweat. Ew. Yeah. All right, now I got to catch up here. Chico, Langs was such a playoff warrior. The brighter the light shine, the better he played. Still hate how it all ended with him, but I'll never hate him. Anyone who would hate Jamie Langenbrunner is just a sick individual. Played a massive role in our most recent championship, which was 22 years ago. Completely insane. I can't believe how long ago it was. It's in some ways it seems like it wasn't that long ago. In some ways it seems like an eternity ago. But absolute beast. All right, let me catch up here. Fitzgerald sucks. Bobby, my prediction for the year points, peanut butter and jelly, 100+ points for both of them. That'd be interesting. The Devils haven't had a 100-point guy yet, and you think they're both going to get it? That's an interesting take. Nico, 80+, Timo, 70-ish, Grits and Mercer, 50-65, Kadri, Nason, 40-ish, and Luke, 70+. Bobby, wow. I mean, listen, I love the optimism. If all that happened, we would have to be a juggernaut. You're talking about, you're talking about 200. You're talking about 200. Yeah, you're talking about 350 points out of the core four. Even if you counted Jack and Brad at it, you said 100+. Even if I just call it 100, there's 200. Nico at 80 is 280, and then Timo at 70. You're talking about 350 points from just the core four. And then you got Grits and Mercer at 50-65, and then Kadri and Nason 40-ish. Yeah, you're basically predicting career years for everybody. I would love to see it. How realistic that is, Bobby, I don't know, but I would love to see it. Colin, yeah, Bobby, that'd be a dream scenario. I hope you're right. I hope so, too. Jack says Kadri would bring in grit and leadership. Yo, Holmes says Fitz can't even pay Luke, and now we're talking Kadri. Come on, man. We got booze face, bros. Stanley says those point totals are hopium with this team's injury history. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it starts with no one missing a single game to hit those point totals. Yo, Holmes, if we got to deal Dawes and Markstrom gets hurt again, we are cooked. Well, I mean, couldn't you also kind of say that about what would you say if Allen got hurt, Yo, Holmes? I do think Allen could play pretty well in a starting role for a stretch. We saw it last year. And I guess in that scenario, if Dawes was gone, as it stands today, I would imagine the next guy up would probably be Jacob Malik. Jason, we don't have a heavy player to play on Jack's line. Yeah, that's why I want Tuck. Blackatron, I saw your pile of game-worn Devils gloves on IG. Oh, that was just a couple. I was rifling through some of the Devils vault to try to get some inspiration or ideas for the new studio build. And I did come across some gloves. I have a bunch. I'm eventually share more of that crap for anyone who's interested over time. But I do have a lot of the staple players from the dynasty years. Is Dallas serious about moving Robertson? Who knows? That all could have been kind of blown out of proportion, but we don't know. We will find out. We will find out if Robertson's on the move, and that's a guy obviously we'd all like to have, but I would prefer a guy like Tuck if I'm being real. Traveling, I don't mind Douglas sticking around until next season. He isn't really the problem that needs to be addressed ASAP. Completely agree. If you look at all the problems or holes of the New Jersey Devils at the moment, Dougie's definitely not on the top of my list or even close to it in terms of issues. And I do think, again, if he was dealt now, it'd be premature. The future is now, says Yoholmes, and we are stuck with Booze Face. Chico, as long as Dougie's still producing points, I have no interest in rushing him out the door. Completely agree. Reaper Crew, he's not that young, 24. Yeah, but young in terms of experience, right? And yeah, Chico says Grit's not young age-wise, but in pro hockey age, he's still pretty young. 200 pro games played, correct. And that's 0 NHL games. So we're going to see. Yo, Holmes, Dougie's contract was embarrassing high when he signed. With the new cap, his deal ain't the worst now. For sure. $9 million in the new cap era. What did Kevin Ball just get? It was something that a lot of people were shocked. I think it was like, yeah, you're talking about Ball just got a cap hit of $5.4 million. So, I mean, $9 million for Dougie with the cap continually going up. You know, not too bad in my book. Stanley, will the Devils have a Swiss jackknife giveaway at the arena this year? So I don't know if you're in the, you guys are, I'm trying to catch up here. Holy shit. Someone was adamant the other night that the Swiss jackknife is a term that was used. While it's hard to find it on the internet or, try to get the backstory on it, there was someone in the live the other night that said that, in fact, was a term. Obviously, it wasn't very popular to most people and unheard of, but it's not the egregious misstep verbally that we thought it was. And apparently the Swiss jackknife, that was a thing, a term. Cotter is basically going to be Coleman. Jack says, call me crazy. If Nashville retained salary, I'd take a chance on Stamkos. 1,000%. I mean, dude, the guy's a legend. I'm always a fan of bringing in leaders and guys that could, that have been there before, winners, leaders, guys to teach these young kids how to compete, how to be a pro. Stammer, I wanted him very badly last summer, and I thought the Devils were going to be in the mix, and there was reports that they were. I don't know if it's, what's true and what's not, but I would have loved Stammer, and I thought he was going to go to a more of a favorite to win a cup for a cheaper deal, but then he goes to a tax-free state for max dollars, and he lost some points in my book, I'm not going to lie. I respect the guys that put winning over money, especially a guy like Stammer, who's been around the league, won at every level, has his cups. I really thought, he felt disrespected by Tampa, and he had made well over $100 million career at that point. And I thought he was going to go to I thought there was a chance maybe he'd end up in Toronto or some other team that was at least expected to be a true cup contender. And then he ends up going to Nashville for max dollars and not pay state income tax. And it seemed like a money grab to me. And so he lost some points in my book, but I would welcome Stammer with open arms with some retention for sure. I would love Stamkos here. I mean, the possibilities with Stammer on this roster are beautiful. Stickfix, if Fitz is gone next year, will you be applying for general manager? Yeah, absolutely not. Yo, Holmes, Ace, were you invited to Siegenthaler's wedding? And if so, let's talk Swiss Jacqueline. Nah, the invite must have got lost in the mail. Jay Snow, how can't they get Palat off this roster? It seems like teams always are able to dump contracts. Well, maybe Fitz should call Chris Drury in New York and see how he's able to do it. He was able to dump off Trouba and Kreider, and for whatever reason, Palat, people may not be interested. Or there's also a world where, and call me crazy, there could be a world where Fitz didn't even try to get rid of him. I do believe that's a possibility as well. That Fitz was like, he's overpaid, but I like what he brings. And I'm going to keep him. I mean, it is possible. I'd have to believe he at least wanted to see what the feasibility of dumping him off would be. But, maybe he's happy with him. Ryan says, Allen is from my area. Home life is everything. Yeah, and shout out again to Jake Allen for showing it's not always all about money. He left a bunch of money on the table to stay in New Jersey and sign that creative deal with the Devils. And I think that was a great move by Allen, and he gets a lot more respect from me as a result of it. He literally left a bunch of money on the table to be a Devil. Unhinged Devs fan, let's go Devils. I'm ready for the season. I want a team to be proud of, be tough, don't want to be ashamed again. Well, I certainly agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough season. It's been a rough, long time for long-time Devils fans. Stickfix says, all this talk about mismanagement of Nico Dawes, but shout out to Isaac Poulter. Man, Penguin blue waving tear. Yeah. I thought there was a chance, and I've talked about him as well. I saw him live play in the playoffs for the Adirondack Thunder in the ECHL. I thought he certainly was going to have a chance to be in the mix for an NHL job at some point in the near future. And I guess with the logjam of goaltending prospects, the Devils decided to move on. Very interesting, the Isaac Poulter situation. But yeah, it seems like Nico Dawes might be another guy that kind of may have a similar fate. Unhinged Devs fan, Ace got in shape this offseason. Way to go, bro. Thank you. Thank you. Hope the freaking team did likewise. We're going to see. We are going to see. Samuel Dawes is a minor trade piece. He is worth more, but the league sees us between a rock and a hard place. For sure. For sure. But if I guess my issue with this I guess my issue with this more so than anything is that if Fitz thought there was a real, and I have to imagine they talked about it, but if Fitz knew he wanted to bring Allen back for this season and that there was a way to actually do it, then he should have traded Dawes last season before now everyone knows the situation. Now, granted, if we traded Dawes last year, people probably would have been like, well, that means everyone probably would have read between the lines and said that means Allen's coming back. But, if your plan was to bring Allen back and you thought there was a realistic way to do it, then you should have traded Dawes last year before everyone knew the position we're in. Now it's no secret, right? Everyone knows, okay, Allen signed, this guy's on a one-way, you're going to lose him for nothing, what's up? And now they're going to try to pick our pockets. They should have traded him last year if that was the plan all along. Blackatron Dawes is the up-and-comer who never came at this point. I think we've seen what he can do at this point. Well, I mean, do you think he wasn't worthy of getting a shot in the league? I mean, he's shown signs of greatness, not greatness, but signs of being a capable NHL goaltender. And his numbers last year in a very, very small sample size, don't get me wrong, were very good because he was playing behind a much better defense than he was in 23-24. Shout out to Nico Dawes, another guy I'll never forget. That Stadium Series game, even though it was a not meaningless, but somewhat unimportant regular season game on a big stage because of all the pomp and circumstance surrounding the Stadium Series, the outdoor game. He had a hell of a game at MetLife Stadium against the Flyers. And I guess that would be my kind of signature Nico Dawes moment if I had to have one in the very brief Devils career that he's had. Chico says, offer they can't refuse. I think right now the bar for that is crazy high. I mean, like Luke Hughes plus level of crazy, and that's why we see nothing because even crackheads aren't giving that up. That's a deal for what? Luke Hughes plus what? for other teams. For what are you talking about? A specific player? Jack, the East is going to be tough this year. Ryan, I made the Timo t-shirt. Then they got him. There has been a letdown. Perhaps it's all my fault. Stick Figs, I remember the last season's trade deadline live stream. You could see the hope drain from Ace's face in real time. Yeah, it was terrible, man. I really thought we were going to get something. You know, I wasn't expecting like a blockbuster, but I was expecting like a meaningful addition. And with all due respect to Cody Glass and Daniel Sprong, that ain't it. I mean, that's not something that was going to move the team forward for the playoff run. Ryan Needs is a top 10 D-man of all time. Can't compare him. Yeah, I do love when people just casually bring up all-time greats and try to compare or be like, is this guy the next, is this the next Brodeur? No. No matter who you're talking about, he is not the next Marty Brodeur because there'll never be another one. He is the greatest of all time. 691 career wins, 3 Stanley Cups, Vezinas, everything else that goes with Marty's greatness. Like, you're never going to see that again. So, and the same with Niedermayer on defense. People are like, oh, is Luke Hughes going to be the next Niedermayer? No, let him be his own guy. Stop comparing these guys and hoping for them to be all-time legends. I mean, not only is it a setup for failure or disappointment, it's just disrespectful to the legends. It really is, but people just casually throw around all-time greats names and like, oh yeah, this guy. Come on, man. Be a little realistic. Jackson Niedermayer was elite. I just want to see the Devils start to make serious deep runs. Yeah, that should have been happening regularly after 22-23. That should have really signified the turnaround for this team, and they should have been a perennial playoff contender. We've yet to see it. Overall, in my opinion, in 2 years, major regression from that record-setting 22-23 season. Samuel, Smartwater equals offseason. 22-23 was supposed to be our jumping-off point. We've done nothing since. Completely agree. Unacceptable. Ryan says, truthfully, no matter what is said, this team revolves around a move for Quinn, whether it's a trade or a UFA signing, and they need to plan the decor cap. That probably is underway at the moment. All of this is probably a derivative of said planning, Ryan. I do believe he's going to come here in free agency at the latest. Jack, NJ should change Vancouver's mind. But I'm curious what people would really want to pay, because I think I've seen a lot of absurd trade package kind of, I don't know, like trade scenarios where people have the most, like, they don't understand what Quinn is worth. I've seen like Dougie Hamilton in a first rounder, or like, I think I even saw one more ridiculous than that. Like, that is not getting Quinn Hughes from Vancouver. Some of the things from people are just crazy. Like the trades that are nowhere near in the realm of reality. Andrew, Devils make the playoffs, hopefully make a push towards the end to determine if we go far or not. Other than that, hockey will be back soon. So who cares what happens? 2025, I'm ready for it, baby. I like the optimism, Andrew. I like it. Justin, I think Markstrom wins 30 games this year. If he stays healthy, I believe that he'll win more than that. I mean, that's a pretty low bar, I think. For a team hoping to be good and assuming he stays healthy, 30 wins. Yeah, he had 26 wins in 49 games last year. It is crazy that he still started 49 despite the injury. Because I think in a perfect world, the Devils probably only want him to play like 55 max. Markey's a super competitor. He wants to play all the time. Love Markey. One of my favorite current players. Fiery dude. Love to see it. A throwback. But if he stays healthy, I think he might be more of like a 35 win guy. Holmes, when I was a kid, I was at a game at the Burn, snuck right behind the glass. First period, the kid got smoked behind the net, and Peluso came trucking in like a freight train from across the ice. Shout out to Big Mike Peluso. Yeah, if you touched a guy like Needs, and he's told me he loved Needs. And he was like, if anyone touched Needs, I would kill them. And that's an example of it. Samuel, Fitz put us in a position that ties our hands behind our back. No cap space and way too many no-move contracts. In a word, screwed. Yeah, but I still think when there's a will, there's a way. You definitely can get creative. And you see other GMs do it all the time. But I do think the Palat thing is the one that everyone really was hoping to see, and it doesn't seem like you're gonna see it now. In an ideal world, I would sweeten the pot if you had to free up that money. Give them picks, give them whatever. Like, who cares? Free up that money and make a big addition, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Stick figures will make the playoffs, but to go deep, we have to rely on nearly all of these guys on staying healthy, and I hate leaving it up to that. Yeah, for a group that has proven, that they're injury prone, to just assume these guys are miraculously all at once gonna stay healthy is pretty hopeful. And I don't like stacking hopes on hopes, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now. But it is what it is, right? I mean, there's nothing we could do about it other than complain and talk smack on an internet forum. But maybe this is the year that no one gets hurt, or at least no one gets hurt for an extended period of time. Again, it definitely is hope, but it would be nice to see. Jason says that's scary because Malik's got zero experience in North America. Hopefully he's going to be a good one. I do think he could potentially be a player for the Devils in net. We're going to see what he's made of. He's scheduled to start the season in Utica. And maybe I'd imagine we'll probably see him get a preseason start or two. Very excited for that. Super nice kid. If you haven't seen my interview with Jacob Malik, check it out. Super nice kid. I was able to watch him a little bit at development camp about, I don't know, was that a month ago or so? But great kid, and I think he really has potential. He's been playing in Finland, put up some good numbers in their pro league. I just dropped the link in the chat if you haven't seen it. We're going to see. What does Malik have? Big year for him coming up for sure. Coming to North America and playing in the A. Ryan, as a fellow Devils collector / giant man cave, I love seeing your merch. Appreciate that. You'll see some of it. You'll see some of that. Thirst for War, technically the Devils won the season series against Florida at probably less than 100%. Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. If you're going to start, getting excited about regular season stuff, I mean, listen, I was thrilled, right? We went to their barn and beat them twice, but the reality is once the playoffs come, it's a different animal. It's a completely different animal, a completely different beast. The Florida Panthers kick it up a notch like many other teams do, but they turn that dial up to playoff warfare. The New Jersey Devils against the Panthers from this past playoffs, like people were making the jokes like half our team would have left in an ambulance, and they probably would have. They were not that Panthers team was a drastically different Panthers team than we played in November. But it's a fair point. But the regular season's regular season, playoffs is playoffs, and the playoffs are intense. They are physical, and it is actual war. A point I probably made it 10 times in the past year. Not this playoffs that just ended, the year before. In a locker room full of reporters with all the microphones and cameras in his face, Brad Marchand looked at all of them and they were like, this is the playoffs. Guys are trying to take guys out. Guys are trying to injure guys and knock them out of the lineup. And it was some of the realest shit I've heard a player say. I mean, players say wild stuff, but like that was pretty, direct and blunt. Like guys are trying to hurt other guys. That is what the Stanley Cup means. And for anyone that didn't believe it, that was from one of the star players in the league who's won a cup, now multiple cups, came out and told the world, guys are trying to hurt guys in the playoffs. And that is a wildly different thing than a November regular season game. Richard, thank you very much, sir. The super. Smash them likes. Thank you, Richard. Hit the likes. Thank you for the super. I'm going through Devils withdrawals. Let's go. Ace, go have a nice burger and brew on me. Thank you very much, Richard. Really appreciate it. I think we are all going through Devils withdrawals. It has been a long off season. It feels like there hasn't been much to even, talk about or even speculate about outside of, I guess, some of the things we're talking about here tonight. Would like to see, some more substantial stuff. But it is what it is. But thank you very much for the super, Richard. Really appreciate it. I will have a burger on you without the bun. No bun. What do we got here? Trying to catch up. Guys talking about Ball. Chico. Ball is one I liked. I think he was moved a little early. I think in Keefe's system, he would have done a lot better. Yeah, always hoped that he would unleash his inner beast, because he was a big body guy. And again, there's a lot of these guys don't use the size. I felt like we saw flashes of physicality from him, and somehow it may, whether it was coaching or maybe a veteran, someone could have really like pulled it out of him. And I think a guy like maybe Brendan Dillon could have served as a mentor in that way, maybe. Whenever you have a big body guy like that, I would have loved to have them around. But yeah, it is what it is. He had to get moved on, and we'll survive. Ball was in the line brawl. Yes, he was. It was Curtis McDermott, Kevin Ball, John Marino, Curtis Lazar, and Tierney. And the only one still on the roster is McDermott. Yeah, McDermott's it. Lazar gone, Ball gone, Marino gone, Laser gone. Curtis McDermott, the starter or the main attraction, the main event of that beautiful line brawl, is the only guy remaining. Ryan, anyone else drunk and missing Devils hockey? Justin Smith, Devils will win 4 in a row this year. That would be nice. Oh my God, you guys with the comments. I'm trying here. I'm buried. Hasn't happened since January of 23. And so even when the season starts, we're going to be close to 3 calendar years. Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Yo Home says, Chico, Ball was a human heavy bag on skates. I saw Robin Leonard sucker punch him and drop him like a sad sack. When was that? When was that? Chico, I'm calling it now. Devils win 4 in a row, but only after the calendar switches to 2026, just as one last FU from 2025. Yeah, what a brutal calendar year. Really was. My man Chase, what's going on? Where'd all your go? It's a long story, but we're rebuilding a studio. We're rebuilding a studio. We don't know where we're going to land, but it will be rebuilt very soon. Justin says no one wants Palat's contract. Even better, Fitz was like Palat, we're keeping him. Stickfig, Stamkos does not fit into our lighter, smoother, more reserved model. Not interested in that bully. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think he goes anywhere, but if Stammer was potentially on the move, I would love to see him here. Again, with retention. I think he's at $8 million a year. Justin, Jake Allen, the ultimate professional. Much respect to Allen. I mean, listen, guy wanted to be in New Jersey. Seriously, he was the best goalie available, and he would have got a ton of money. Jake Allen is a real one, Stanley. Jack says, Allen surprised me. There were teams waiting for him to hit the market. They absolutely were, and that's why he's a stand-up guy. Gestures, like, aside from what he brought to the locker room and, how well he played for the Devils last year in net, when guys do things like that, that means more to me than almost anything. It's like, you want to be a Devil, you want to be here. And when you see guys pick the area, the team, his teammates over money, that goes a long way. And I'm sure it does with a lot of his teammates as well. Unhinged Devs fan, Jake the Snake, glad to have him back. Team player, absolutely. Absolutely. Jared says Yankees suck. Here's a newsflash, Jared. Baseball sucks. Baseball sucks. Sprong already left town for the KHL. Bobby says, okay, back to reality. I do think, God forbid, Mark or Allen gets hurt. Malik will get a call up first over Dawes. Well, Bobby, Dawes is not going to be on the team. He's not going to clear waivers. If he did, I'd be shocked. He has a one-way deal this year, and so he basically, to send him down, he would have to go on waivers, and he will get claimed by another team. So he won't be available for a call-up. The only way Dawes is still around is if the Devils decide to carry 3 goalies, which I don't think they will, but it's a possibility. Justin, there'll never be another Marty. You are correct. Jack Brodeur is pretty good. Just a little bit, right? Brandon, 1 hour late. Did I miss anything good? I don't think so. Talking about Gritsuk, some other stuff. Bobby says, no matter what, Vancouver would lose that trade. Obviously talking about Quinn Hughes. The ball's in our court. Just look at the Vegas-Toronto trade a few weeks ago. They would want a lot, man. Yeah, Jack says Quinn will cost 4 pieces, 2 players, top prospect, and a first-round pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they could get 2 first-round picks from another team in a deal like that, depending on who the roster players and the prospects are. But it'd be an expensive potential 2-year rental for a team. Bobby, Markey will break 40 wins. Even if he stayed healthy last year, it would have been so close. Oh my God, Bobby. I wish I was as enthusiastic and optimistic as Bobby. He's picked now. Bobby has Markey 40 plus wins and pretty much every player on the team having a career year. I would love to see it. That would make us an amazing team, Bobby. Justin says, I think Tuck will help, but Buffalo won't give him up until you force their hand. I think guys like that could be had. I don't think he's like an untouchable by any stretch, but maybe, obviously they'd probably prefer to keep him, but I think you got to at least try. Just try. Brandon, kind of sad when we talk about any player in the team and we need to start or end. God, it's been a long couple weeks, guys. Kind of sad when we talk about any player in the team, we need to end or start the sentence if they stay healthy. Yeah, when we have injury-prone guys, what are you going to do, right? I mean, I guess the Yankees lost a bad one based on some of your comments. Chico, if I'm the GM of Vancouver, I'm either keeping him as an own rental or I'm shopping him as a rental to teams other than New Jersey. I mean, if you hold on to him to the bitter end, Chico, that'd be such malpractice. Like, because of what they could get for him, I mean, wow. It would be such malpractice to not cash him in for whatever your highest offer is. Samuel, over under on how many games Jack plays? I put the line at 64 games. I think that's probably a pretty good number. I'm going to be optimistic and take the over. Jack says NJ needs to build a team to beat Carolina. Yeah, well, they need to really build a team to try to beat Florida and hope that same team would beat Carolina. But yeah, I guess baby steps, right? Beat Carolina before you worry about the champs. But in the end, you have to be looking to build a team that could contend with them. Back-to-back Cup champs, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it again. I would not be shocked at all. Bringing back almost everybody, getting Bennett and Marchand on team-friendly deals. Like this is what winning clubs are able to do. Guys are like, this is a great team. Let's keep the band together and let's run it back. And you're going to see them be a nuisance again next year in the playoffs. And if I had to pick today who I'm picking to win the Cup next year, I'm picking Florida. I mean, in my opinion, it would be kind of crazy if you don't pick Florida. Who else are you going to pick? The Oilers? I mean, Maria, entire team would have left in an ambulance. Zach just got here. What's up with a new background? It's not a new background, Zach. It's we're building a new studio, and I haven't decided exactly what I want to do yet. And so I am here in the blank canvas, just kind of getting my bearings under me in the new studio, kind of feeling it out and kind of processing how, what changes or differences I want this studio to have from the one you guys were used to. I do think in the end it will be very similar. It'll be very similar to the previous one, but there will be some changes. Would love to see Brat score 40 goals this year. Oh, man, I would too. Bratter with 40 would be beautiful. But he's such a great playmaker. He puts up tons of assists. Obviously, he broke the record last season, single season record. And you might see him, hopefully peanut butter and jelly. I don't really care who's burying it, whether it's Zach or Bratter, Jack or Bratter. But if they could stay healthy and play a full season, I think maybe we do see them take the next step together. But it starts with staying healthy. Yoham said, Ball got suckered by Robin Leonard. Was Blackwood's last game a couple years ago. Shut him down due to injury. Vegas was in town. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't remember. Zach says, baseball, a.k.a. snooze fest. Yeah, it really is, right? I just can't get into baseball. I'm so sorry. For those of you that like it, I just can't. Sad Jets fan. Sup, Ace. What's going on, sad Jets fan? Yo, Holmes, Robin suckered Ball, dropped him, ripped his mask off, and punked the entire team. No one did anything. I don't know why I don't remember this, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Bobby Brightside has us winning the President's Trophy in a runaway. I mean, yeah, with career years from every single guy, Markey with 40 wins. I think Bobby Brightside. Yeah, Bobby Brightside has us winning the President's Trophy, the Stanley Cup. Kiefer gets the Jack Adams. Maybe Luke wins the Norris over his brother. Markey gets the Vezina. And Jack gets the Hart. We can all use a friend as hopeful as Bobby in our lives. Sad Jets fan, it's officially been 1 month since General Manager Tom Fitzgerald said the Luke extension was coming, then proceeded to sleep for the next 30 days. Has that heard? That press conference was a month ago, huh? Brandon said, I think Jack will finish the season, but he's going to dial back his game and play very safe. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. That would be terrible. He's got to play his game. But it's obviously the injuries are probably in the back of his head at all times. How could it not be? Samuel, beat the Canes and pray someone else handles the Cats. That would be nice too. But it would feel. Imagine if the Devils went on a run and they had to beat them both. That'd be just such a phenomenal run. Stick figs. Let's calm down about this Luke nonsense. That doesn't matter now because we have Bordello. Jason, the Devils forward group needs more sandpaper. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it does. I've said this forever. I bring me but skilled sandpaper. BC Fitz is what he is. He's not going to make a splash this year, and we're rolling with mostly the same roster. It certainly seems that way. I mean, nothing has told us or made us believe otherwise. Justin, Devils need to play better in the second half of back-to-back games. Yeah, obviously atrocious, completely atrocious. Performances in that game 2 of a back-to-back, and we have a good amount of them this year. They're going to have to figure out a way and figure out why it is that we're so bad in them. And it is crazy with a good goaltending tandem. You would think, that would cut down on that kind of flop in the second game. But yeah, it's just brutal. Stick figs, run with the Devils. The blank corner reminds me of some of the earliest game recaps on the channel. Oh boy, you're going way back, Stick figs. You're talking about the early days. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Oh, man. Samuel, Fitz couldn't make a splash. Returning to the old diving horse on the SI. One of the things, whenever I think of diving horses, and this is going to show my old age, there was this movie, I think it was called Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. I don't even know why I remember this, but it was about like a girl that was doing the horse diving. Yeah, Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. The girl on the horse diving. I never even knew that was a thing until that movie came out. It's pretty funny. Don't be pessimistic. Be a Bobby Brightside. Angus Crookshank for life. You guys are brutal. You guys are a bloodthirsty crowd, and I love it. Sad Jets fan, my theory on how to beat the Panthers. Devils sneak into the playoffs as the second wild card. Face the Panthers in round 1. Panthers completely underestimate them. Yeah, it's a nice story. It's a nice fairy tale. Sad Jets fan. How realistic it is, I don't know. I think that's a lot of what the kids are calling hopium. Because once the playoffs start, the Panthers are not around whatsoever. Justin says, I think Bobby has had too much to drink. Well, it turns out Bobby doesn't drink. He does not drink. Yo, Holmes says, I need to be a little more Bobby Brightside myself. Let's go. Win the whole effing thing, baby. Samuel, Fitz couldn't make a split on the Steel Pier in AC. I do recall hearing that they had that in Atlantic City, which, man, Atlantic City back in the day must have been an interesting spectacle. I've gone a ton of times in the past, 20 or so years. Max, I think Connor Brown is going to be a bigger deal than a lot of people think, but still would like another ad on the forward core for sure. But we all want either that 3C or top 6 help. Connor Brown is going to be a bottom 6, or who knows, right? He could end up playing in the top 6 because of our lack of a true top 6. Jason, no, Connor Brown's an okay bottom 6er. My theory on how to beat the Panthers. Devils sneak into the playoffs as the second wild card. Panthers wildly underestimate them. Devils shock the Panthers 1995 final style. Turn off the Xbox. Matt, now that it's year 2 of Keefe, I think our players will know what to expect and perform at a higher level. That'd be nice. Yo, Holmes, does Keefe actually move to NJ this year? Is he still living in a different country other than the team he coaches? We're going to find out. Obviously, it's a tough thing not living with your family. I can't imagine the life of, some of these players, coaching staff, and the other guys, that are part of it, especially with young kids. It definitely presents challenges and things. And yeah, it was reported, I guess, that Keefe was flying home pretty often to be with his family. I'm not going to kill him for it. A lot of people made a bigger deal out of it than I think it is. But I understand why people don't like it. And I don't think he's going to move his family. And so he might continue to do that, Yo Holmes. Who knows? Brandon, thank you for the super, my friend. Thanks for the content, Ace. I'm extremely addicted to your live streams. For a new studio, you absolutely need to post a Tom Fitz meme of something behind you. You guys are bloodthirsty. Thank you for the super, Brandon. I have a bunch of ideas for stuff, and that's why I'm kind of taking my time with it. But looking at this blank kind of drives me crazy a little bit. It drives me a little crazy, and I don't really like it. And so I also don't like periods of transition where it's kind of an unfinished thing. And so I do typically become very impatient with stuff like this, and I just want to be finished or complete as soon as possible because it drives me crazy and I hate the way it looks. And so and I don't feel settled or even when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the camera now, but when I peek down at the screen or I'm looking at the stuff, it depresses me a little bit. So I like the Tom Fitz meme suggestion, and maybe I will incorporate something like that. We'll see. Stick fix between Pesci, Mystic, Booze Face, refusing to spell McDermott's name right now. Bobby Brightside. I love this community, man. We do have some real characters in here. Oh, Bobby putting some heavy stuff in the chat. I mean, wow. I don't want to be. Justin, would love to see a deep playoff run this year, but the only way that happens is if the Devils are willing to do what it takes every night. I agree. We need guys to step up. Please smash that like button. Thanks, Justin. Thank you, sir. Yeah, part of the echo is also because there's nothing in here to prevent it. Like I'm in a mostly barren studio right now. I think once I put up a bunch of crap, it will help, and maybe I'll look at some acoustic materials and stuff. We'll see. But yeah, it's mostly because actually I'm curious. Let me open this. I'm curious if it gets any. It probably won't. If it echoes less now. I just opened the door to the studio. I'm still playing with all the the lighting's not perfect. I need to have a lighting specialist. One of my boys, actually Chase, was in here earlier. He's better with all that crap. But hopefully we get this thing kind of closer to its final state soon. Stanley says, Ace, you definitely need a self-portrait in there. Something similar of the Kramer. Oh boy. I don't know how I feel about a self-portrait. I find it odd enough that I even do these things, right? Like I never planned on having a YouTube channel of any kind. I've told this kind of story before, I believe, but I never intended really to do this. And it started off a couple years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when I just put up some clips of stuff at games. And that's, I didn't even plan on doing that regularly. I'm like, this is something cool I think Devils fans would like to see. I would have liked to see it if I wasn't there. And so I just shared some clips. And then it kind of, after talking to some of my friends and something else, they're like, oh, yeah, you should just do the thing. And I am a person who is pretty private. I'm a pretty private person. And typically would think that doing something like this is crazy. I mean, I am happy I did. It's been a lot of fun. I've been able to do some cool stuff that I never thought I'd be able to do. And so I appreciate all of you for your continued support and watching and all that. But even just being on here is still kind of very weird to me. So I don't know if I could do, a self-portrait, I think, is completely over the top. And yeah, Bobby, I didn't even read the whole thing. I skimmed it, but no, man, I appreciate you sharing with the people. Whatever, I'm gonna have to go back and read it. It flew by quick, but it was pretty serious stuff. So I hope everything's good with you and your family, Bobby. Samuel, do the Devils have guys that can step up? I think they do. I'm gonna say I think that they do, Samuel, and I think you're mostly going to be counting on the guys in the thumbnail, the core four. The core four are the guys that I have the most hope for, and I think that's kind of probably a common thought, right? Like, who's going to step up now? Could Cotter, the Cotters and Nasons of the world, can they step up from where they were? Yes. But what's truly going to push the team to that next level is your best guys becoming even better. And so can Jack be that 110-point guy? Can Bratter be a 90, 95-point guy? Could he get 100 points? I don't think it's crazy. Can we get regular bottom six scoring? Can we develop a good third line? Who's going to step up as the third line center? Can the third line have timely production and produce way more than they did last year? Can you get a fourth line that's not completely offensively inept? And these are all things that if they all go right, it could be great, but it's asking a lot. And I think in the end, if you're looking for the biggest change, it's your better players becoming even better. And it could happen. Michael said, I just joined later. Why the new studio? Why did you move out of the old studio? It's a whole long story, but we're in a new studio and eventually it will be more reminiscent of the old one. Hopefully new and improved. I'm hoping it's new and improved, but time will tell. Time will tell. The Devils are in talks of using this channel as a trade piece, so he gave all his memorabilia to me. Oh, boy. Yeah, Jay Snow, we need a strong third line. It starts with having a legitimate third line center. Brandon, if we stay healthy, I think we are very dangerous if we could score. Look at the record. Season injuries didn't really happen. Yeah. But everything just felt better. I don't know how to. Everything just felt. I mean, what they have, that the 13-game win streak was earlier in that season. Like, they showed signs of it. Much early, like pretty early on. We're like, oh my god, a 13-game heater. Like, this is maybe a squad. Like, maybe this team has potential, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. At that point of the season, I was thinking we could win a cup. I really did. And even going into the playoffs, after we beat the Rangers, I was still hopeful that we could go on a deep run. And then obviously we ran into Carolina and got smacked. But injuries are huge, but I don't like the kind of thought process that it seems Fitz has, which is like he's counting on the team being healthy as an addition. And I think that's a fool's errand. Obviously, the team being healthy is a bonus, but I think just counting on that alone is foolish, and you had to get top six help that we're not getting. Bobby says, now you agree with me. His PB&J will crack 100 points. I would love to see it. We need a complete season of 3-point night Jack. Yeah, was that was it last year now or two? No, it was last year, I think, where he was for a couple weeks. I feel like he was averaging two points. Like, he may have had like 20 points through 10 games or something. I feel like he was on a ridiculous tear to start the season. AVA 78, Timo needs to have a big year and get off to a strong start. Can't rely on him only late in the season. I agree. I want to see Timo time in October. Timo time in October would be beautiful. And 30-30 is my benchmark. Would love to see it. Obviously, again, with all the other things he brings, I'm the president of the Timo fan club. He's our only bull in the top six. A nasty Mo. Gets under the opponent's skin. Could smash guys. Create space. I'm a big Timo guy. Would love to see him get 60, but 53 points last year after being misutilized and not getting power play one time. I think he had a pretty damn good year. Justin, feel bad for Dawes, but he will flourish with a different organization. Husky says, got to have the Arnott photo in the new studio. I think that's probably a staple. I mean, a Stanley Cup winning goal. Hard for me to get that one out. Jason, our core guys are close to 30. That's scary. Yeah, guys age quickly, guys. Everyone thinks, oh, yeah, they still got time. The future is bright, this, that, and the other thing. Like, no, the future should be now. And I've been saying this for several years now. The future should be now. Samuel, I'm just tired of we can do this or that if we stay healthy. Yeah, it's a terrible thing to keep kind of saying. Bobby, didn't realize Dawes' situation. I can 100% see him going to Edmonton. Anything is an upgrade over Skinner. Yeah, you would think that they would be super interested. But, maybe Fitz is planning on carrying 3 goalies, because if that is not the case, then, yeah, why haven't they traded him yet? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Jason O. Jackson, amazing player. Having a real player on his line would make them elite. Yeah. Tuck would be sick. Traveling says Dawes to Edmonton means McJesus to the Rags. Yeah, they're probably looking for something a little more substantial to please Mr. McDavid and have him re-sign there. But I could definitely see McDavid on the Rangers, guys. I really hate it. I really hate to say it. I could totally see it. Sad Jets fan, Timo needs to be on the first power play from day one. Completely agree. Meyer Madness could be all year if he has a bigger role. They could move Bratt to the second unit to drive that line. I like it. I like it. I love Timo on power play one. That's where he made his career in San Jose. Let him continue on. Let him continue on doing that. Timo's a volume shooter, not a sniper. Yeah, but he's capable of sniping too. We've seen bits and pieces of it, but yeah, eventually with those, he just keeps firing pucks on net, and some are going to go in. We did see like a historic cold spell from him last year that hopefully we never see again. I mean, he was so snake bit, and I felt like it was like for weeks where he was getting quality chance after quality chance and nothing could go in. Yeah, he had tons of bad puck luck. BC, the thing that drives me nuts about Fitz is he's the king of slow movements, does nothing during the year, and then makes excuses for coming in second or downplays it. Every year is punting with Fitz. Well, you guys know how I feel about that. There was no excuse for me. And I think, it is what it is. I had much higher expectations for the deadline. I was pretty upset. That we did nothing. And yeah, I mean, it's more of the same. Punting on a season. And a lot of people were kind of accepting of it. There was kind of this groupthink of like, well, Jack Hughes is hurt, so we're going to trade assets and go for it without Jack. And like I said, then if you're relying your whole existence on a single player in any sport, you're relying on a single dude. And if he goes down, you're like, no, that's it. We're done. Then you've built a terrible team. And I think the players in the locker room probably felt the same way. They were probably hoping for more at the deadline. I had a dream Luke was a Canuck with Quinn. I think that's the same dream that Jimmy Rutherford had. There's no way that Luke's going to Vancouver. Stanley says, yes, the Rangers are 100% marking out for McDavid. You could feel it. I agree. Jace, no, Timo is tops in the league at creating high dangers. We all know that. He can't get to the dirt. He can get to the dirty areas. Another guy like that. Yeah, give me another Timo, a Timo-ish guy in the top six. Jason says, Rangers haven't won dick. McDavid ain't going there. But getting McDavid changes everything. And in a big market, don't be surprised. I don't think McDavid is just expecting to go to a team that's already kind of positioned to win per se. The Rags will have $30 million in cap space next year with Eichel, McDavid, Kyle Connor, and others entering the market. Drury moving the Rags deadweight will make them dangerous. Wish Fitz would do that. Yo, Holmes, Keefe system will score off the rush or not at all. So far, I'm not impressed. Let's see how they look in year two. Bobby says, rumor has it Natchez wants out of Colorado. Him and Jack tonight would be electric. I hate Natchez. I wouldn't want him at all. I would have no interest in Natchez personally. I know a lot of you feel the same way. I would not want Natchez whatsoever. I'd be kind of mad if we got him. Yeah, I just don't like him. And I think there's way better usage of money as well. McDavid's going to re-sign in Edmonton. If I had to bet on it, I would think he would too, but not before their entire executive team and Oilers fans collectively have a heart attack. He doesn't seem like a New York guy, but when you have a bunch of, you have to understand, he has a team of people in his ear, agents, lawyers, marketing people, this one, that one, and McDavid in New York it'd be pretty wild for the league as well. But the endorsements, the opportunities that would come his way as a result of being a New York Ranger and playing on Broadway would be wild, wild stuff. So, Jets fan, we don't need that diver Natchez on our team. Justin, love the physicality side of Timo last year. Yeah, the man's a bull. A bull. Stick figs. McDavid and the rest of the hockey world knows that as long as the rest of the team can skate without needing to hold onto the boards, he could bring them over the edge. Yeah, McDavid pretty much turns any team into a contender. Jay Snow, I'd take Raquel making $5 million. I would love him too, but I think you would have to trade a ton of shit to get him. I think he would be way more expensive than people realize. But again, I would consider it for sure. I think he'd be a great addition to this team. Nature's a disgrace after that guy. Bobby, I mean, let's be honest. He's going to Boston. Him and Pasta are besties. You talking about Nature's? Tyler, Ace, I got the WWE Devil shirt today at the event. WWE is awesome. I saw the shirt online. It was cool, but I feel like with all these things, Tyler, they could always be way better. Like, I always feel like it's underwhelming. Like, it's pretty basic. Like, oh, it has both logos on it. Okay. Like, do something a little bit better. But, you know, it is what it is. Pretty cool shirt. How was the event? It was a SmackDown, right? Yeah, I saw that was there. Kaprizov needs a contract. He'll get one. It was WWE SmackDown. Jay Snow, I would love to know the asking price on him as well. I'd have to imagine it's super high. Traveling. McDavid has to be tired of the Oilers finishing second. Can't say he doesn't want to move and have a fresh start. But he's a Canadian. I think his wife owns like a bar restaurant there. He has a pretty sick house. Like, he's settled there. You also have to take into consideration real life. Like, even though this guy has more money than whatever, and he can go do whatever he wants, like, there is something to be said for a Canadian kid playing in a Canadian market. He was supposed to kind of be the, you know, the next guy to bring them to the promised land. So who knows? I could see him staying there. It is a lot to kind of start your life all over. And again, I think his wife owns like a bar restaurant there. But yeah, they could do all that no matter what city they go to. Imagine the McDavid sweepstakes in the pre-salary cap era. Oh boy. Zachary, kind of disappointed the Devils didn't pursue a guy like Marco Rossi. Would love to see him in New Jersey in the future. I'm a hard pass on him. I am a hard pass on him. No more undersized guys. Give me dogs and give me beef. I want the beef. I want the beef. Husky Unchained. Been watching a bunch of games from the 21-22 season. If anyone's interested, there's a channel called All About Hockey on YouTube that uploaded the games. That uploaded Devils random games from 21-22. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to check that out. What is all this McDavid talk? It's August, Steven. It's a pretty big league-wide thing. Pyro, rumor was Pitt was looking for 2 firsts for Raquel in the winter. I would probably do that. You guys know me. I don't give a shit about first. Trade all that. Trade all that. But I think I'd be wanting to see what else you could get for 2 firsts. But I have no interest in this team using drafting with first-round picks anytime soon. You should be in win now and trade all that. Trade it all away. Tyler, John Cena, Cody Rhodes drank a beer in the middle of the ring together. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll fought Logan Paul and some other guy. Dude, what? Jelly Roll's a wrestler now? What? Yo, this is crazy. Jelly Roll's a wrestler? Man, I didn't know that. Stick figs. McDavid doesn't seem like the Crosby team-friendly deal type, but with all the money he's gotten, he'd want to put more focus on winning a cup sooner than later. Well, we're going to see, right? Especially if he signs in Edmonton. What's his cap hit going to be? People are speculating it could be 16, 17 million. Yeah, let's see what he does. Micah Parsons, the Devils. Yo, Holmes giving some financial advice. I'm a long-time WWE investor. Buy some TKO while you can, man. Is that... I thought the parent company is Endeavor. I can't keep track of all this shit. Doesn't Endeavor own all this stuff? And it's all like WWE, UFC, it's all under Endeavor as like the parent company? Besides Tuck, who would you realistically want to add? I mean, the bar is pretty low. I mean, listen, I would even take Kadri, like someone brought up earlier. I would take Kadri happily. I would just be looking to see what other better pieces could be available so that you use that $7 million a year in the best way possible to get the best player possible. That's what I'd be looking to do. So there's a ton of guys. I would like Robertson. You know, all these guys whose names are being thrown out there would be an improvement for the team. What's going on, Doug? Endeavor just went private as the parent company, TK. Okay. Commanders are getting a new stadium. That must be nice. Brandon, I'd rather have anything with a pulse than Palat. You guys are brutal. Yeah, getting a new stadium. It must be nice to be Harris's true love. Man. All right. I'll be right back, guys. I'm running to the bathroom. I'm going to start winding this down. It's already been time flies when you're BSing on a live. But any final comments, questions, suggestions? I do have a lot of stuff in the works that I eventually will share. Lots of things in the works. But any final comments, questions? Like I said, 2-minute bathroom break. I will return. Oh wait, do I still have the? Let me see something. Let me just look. There it is. Bathroom break. I'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll wind this thing down. Appreciate you all coming out on this fine summer evening. Back in 2 minutes. Bum, bum, bum. And we are back. I'd rather have a case of Gatorade. Come on, plot. I like Pally, but he obviously is a little overpaid. Steven says, I'm so glad summer's almost over. I hate it so much. Oh, man. While I miss hockey, I absolutely love the summer, guys. I absolutely love the summer. There's so many great things about the summer. I don't know how you don't like the summer. When I was a kid, I looked forward to the summer all year. And when it comes to towards the end, I start getting depressed. And when that calendar hits August, it starts to seep in a little bit more. And I certainly am starting to feel that now. Absolutely brutal. Yeah, it's true, Stanley. Give Plot a break. It's not his fault that his boss is an imbecile that required him to play top-line NHL minutes in 2025. God help us. It's true. I mean, he shouldn't have been in the top 6, but here we are. The heat wave was insane. Maria, my AC broke down in the middle of that heat wave. Oh, man, I don't know how you did it, Maria. I've said time and time again to a lot of my friends and my grandmother as well. My grandmother, bless her soul, is 92, and she talks about, all the old stuff all the time. And the modern day amenity that I certainly appreciate more than any other is the advent of air conditioning. I don't know how people lived without air conditioning. I can't sleep in hot, even like somewhat hot, like even 75, 80 degree room. I'm like tossing and turning. I need it to be cool, crispy, cool. Brutal. Pyro, Ace, who's your favorite all-time bottom line defenseman in NJD history? In history? Was he a third pair? Let me see. If you count, I mean, at some point, Dano must have been a bottom pairing. Dano. And then probably Colin White. I love summer. I love the beach. I love females in bikinis. I'm right with you, Jay Snow. 3 for 3. Summer, check. Beach, check. Women and females in bikinis, check. I'm right there with you, Jay Snow. We're very aligned. Bobby, Kadri is good. He's 35 and 4 years left on his contract. It's risky. It is, but it's a win now move. And like a lot of us have, talked about that sometimes you have to make difficult decisions and difficult moves to go forward. And I think something like Kadri could be one of those types of moves. Had to wait 2 days for HVAC to come and repair it. I would have died, Maria. I don't know how you did it. Stick figs. Everyone says AC. Everyone sleeps on the Marvel that is modern plumbing. I mean, that's nice. But in the end, if I have to use the bathroom outside for a couple minutes versus your existence in hot, disgusting housing, I would dig a hole outside and take care of business and then go back into the air. Brandon, Aces or talks to have Locked On Devils and Daniel going to talk about the offseason changes. I'm definitely open to it, and I definitely will have Trey on from Locked On at some point. Daniel is more than welcome to come on again. I don't know if he wants to or not, but I certainly would have him on again as well. But Trey from Locked On will definitely be on again at some point. Yeah, Colin White. Whitey's is a beast. Pyro, and again, Kadri with that grid is a culture changer too. I don't know if he single-handedly will change it, but it helps push it in the right direction, and I love guys like that. So Kadri certainly would be welcome for me. Yo, Holmes, Tommy Abilene was a bottom D-man for the Devils for a while, and that dude is a Swedish hockey legend. Tommy Abilene, also a sneaky two-time Cup champ. He got the bookends, a 95 and 03 Cup champ with the Devils. Missing the middle cup. Pyro, the whole McDermott situation being the genesis of heavier edge, more violent. Man, it really is. That line brawl was there. It was a 5-on-5 brawl. Absolutely beautiful. Justin, thank you. Once again, please smash the like button for your boy. I appreciate that. Pyro is your New York Ranger friend coming back this season too. Oh, Ranger fan Chris? Probably not. He actually moved to Florida recently, and so I don't know that Chris may have been, I think he made 2 appearances. That might be it. I have some other Ranger fan friends as well that maybe I'll invite over for a game or maybe even go to a game with and then do a post-game show. We will see. Jason looked pretty upset after those Rangers losses. Yeah, he did. He took it like a champ. Yeah, Chris is a good guy. All right, guys. Really appreciate you coming out. Short notice. Friday night, not a lot of exciting stuff going on. I have a ton of stuff in the works. Hopefully get in the studio up to par very soon. Maybe I will do kind of some show and tell type stuff as I'm digging. If anyone's interested, maybe I'll line up a bunch of crap kind of at a camera where you can't see and occasionally show stuff that's being considered to be put in the set. There'll be a lot of stuff in the studio that you can't see as well, but obviously the prime real estate is the stuff in the shot, right? Like the stuff that you guys are going to see regularly is the star of the studio. But there's other stuff, like I said, that'll be in the studio that you can't see, just like my old one. All right, but that's it, guys. Thanks for coming out. I'll be back soon. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Yeah.